Good morning, I'm Don Barnes, Orange County Sheriff. First and foremost, Happy New Year, welcome to 2022. I'm sure we can all agree that we're looking forward to a better and more prosperous and healthy new year this year. 2021 has had its challenges. We've continued to deal with a global pandemic. We're dealing with the fentanyl crisis that I've shared with you before. And many legislative decisions that have been made has made law enforcement's job much more difficult. But as always, we rise to meet these challenges. As an agency, we innovate, we lead, and we work hard with the best interests of Orange County residents at heart. I'm very proud of the men and women of the Orange County Sheriff's Department and the many accomplishments we have had this past year. I want to share with you some of the work that we have done, and will become evident why I am so proud of their work. In 2021, a year in review, I want to share with you some of the statistics that we have accomplished during this past year. For example, calls for service. Our deputy sheriffs working patrol. We patrol 1/4 of the county's residents with direct patrol services. Responded to 482,000 calls for service. 204,000 of those were emergency calls for service that our deputies responded to. Included in those responses were our hazardous devices squad. The Orange County Sheriff's Department provides a bomb squad for the entire county's benefit. They responded to 483 calls for service and collected 32,000 pounds of illegal explosives during 2021. Our harbor patrol services, patrolling the 3 harbors and the 42 miles of coastline along Orange County's western border with the Pacific Ocean, had 18,300 calls for service and performed 312 rescues in 2021. Our air support unit, our helicopters that patrol Orange County, had 2,143 calls for service and conducted 61 search and rescue operations. And the department's major accident reconstruction team that responds to significant traffic collisions and fatalities had 46 investigations they conducted, and our SWAT team had 42 activations during calendar year 2021. Of the department's 29 canines that we have within the Sheriff's Department, 9 of those perform patrol functions. Our patrol canines located 314 subjects at large last year. They also seized 43 kilos of cocaine, 209 kilos of methamphetamine, and 5.6 kilos of ecstasy, and led to the seizure of $87,000 in U.S. currency, and located 4 handguns that we took out of away from subjects. I'm very proud of our reserve and our volunteers. These are individuals who volunteer their time as deputy sheriffs, and combined last year they gave the county in service 67,000 hours of service to the residents of Orange County, saving taxpayers $5.8 million. They also performed 88 search and rescue operations. These deputy sheriffs who serve in our Reserve Bureau, our search and rescue team is completely voluntary. And so when we have these call outs, 88 last year, that's more than 1 a week, our reserves, our deputy sheriffs working in reserve, activate, leave their jobs, leave their families, and contribute to the benefit of Orange County residents. We also had 30 bloodhound searches conducted last year, and that's also by our volunteer deputy sheriffs. The Orange County jail system had 35,000 inmates booked, and that's lower than we normally would have in a pre-pandemic year. But despite the pandemic, we had volunteers still offering services within the Orange County jail system. We had over 2,000 volunteers who volunteered 2,400 hours of service to those who are entrusted to our care. In 2021, we had 9,700 applicants to work at the Orange County Sheriff's Department, with about 4,300 sworn applicants and 5,400 applicants for our civilian positions. We currently have nearly 3,700 employees within the Sheriff's Department, which means we have about 300 vacancies. And we're still looking to hire and fill those positions, and the majority of those are in civilian positions. If you want to learn more about opportunities for employment within the Orange County Sheriff's Department, go to ocsheriff.gov/join for all the recruitments we currently have ongoing within the Sheriff's Department. One thing I'm most proud of in the last year was the establishment of our Behavioral Health Bureau. These are 3 sergeants, 7 deputies, and they're assigned to 2 full-time teams that provide outreach and, when necessary, enforcement dealing with the oftentimes homeless population, and those oftentimes have substance use disorder or behavioral health issues. We also have 40 trained deputies who work as behavioral health liaisons who participate in the outreach effort as well. As part of our ongoing remediation efforts with Public Works in Orange County, you may remember back in 2017 we took on remediation efforts on the Santa Ana riverbed. And I think if you've seen it recently, you would agree that it's been restored back to its pristine condition. However, during the years following, we've had to maintain a presence on the riverbed to help prevent the return of individuals who encamp on the Santa Ana riverbed and the flood channels. For example, in 2021, our homeless outreach team effort and our Behavioral Health Bureau cleared 1,253 homeless encampments off the riverbed again and contacted over 1,600 subjects who are trying to return back onto the riverbed. And it doesn't always end badly. We did assist in the housing of 36 of those individuals who we located on the riverbed. Like many agencies across the nation, we have implemented a co-responder team model known as the Psychiatric Emergency Response Team, or PERT. This is a part-time pilot program consisting of one deputy and one mental health clinician from the healthcare agency who responds to calls for service for people who are in crisis, but may not be a violation of law or may not be a danger to the public. And they intervene appropriately and have conducted over 300 follow-ups with these individuals and contacts that we've had through our calls for service, and responded to over 100 active mental health crisis calls, completing over 110 hours of casework management. For drug seizures unfortunately continue to increase. In the Orange County Sheriff's Department, we have 6 different narcotics initiatives. We have 2 narcotic street teams, one in North Orange County, one in South Orange County. We have a program that's known as a HIDA, High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Initiative. It's part of the Los Angeles area HIDA, but Orange County has its own program known as the Regional Narcotics Suppression Program, and that's working major cartels and drug trafficking from really around the world that ends up in Orange County. We have a parcel interdiction team that tracks packages coming in and out of John Wayne Airport. We have a highway interdiction team. If you're ever traveling down to San Diego, you'll see deputy sheriffs in Orange County patrol cars around the checkpoint that patrol looking for narcotics trafficking coming north on the 5 freeway, and oftentimes drug proceeds and guns going south back to Mexico. And just this past year, we have had numerous successes. And we also have one operation along the waterway known as Operation Stone Garden that we do contracted for the federal government. And these are deputy sheriffs, part of our SWAT team, who patrol the waterways and have the authority to board vessels coming up from Mexico or into the harbors. Most importantly, though, in 2021, our narcotics team seized a significant amount of narcotics, over 5,000 pounds of cocaine, 104 pounds of fentanyl, which is the equivalent of 22 million potential lethal doses. We've had 31 pounds of heroin, 2,880 pounds of methamphetamine, still the highest in volume trafficked into the country. See 72 handguns and over $2 million in drug proceeds in U.S. currency. As the county sheriff, I also run and manage the Orange County Crime Lab. This past year, our crime lab processed almost 24,000 investigative cases. That's where they're looking at evidence and processing those for prosecution. 164,000 tests were completed on evidence, and they had almost 3,000 crime scene call-outs where they go to locations and collect evidence and look for DNA or fingerprints or other evidence on those locations. And also, as the county coroner, I'm proud of the work that we perform there. Many people may not know this, but the Orange County Sheriff's Department Coroner Division is a statewide training center for coroner operations throughout the state of California. And beyond that, we had 7,721 autopsies or cases investigated last year. And I'm proud of the fact that we identified 268 unidentified or John or Jane Doe cases where we confirmed the identity of those individuals. Moving on to other topics, I'm going to share with you some of the Homeland Security initiatives that we have undertaken in the Sheriff's Department. This past June, I was named as the chair of the Major County Sheriffs of America Intelligence Committee. The goal is a collaboration with other law enforcement partners, both local, state, and especially federal, with Department of Homeland Security, FBI, and other federal agencies, to have the intent going back 2 decades to put us in a position where we are communicating well and sharing information as intelligence to not only keep Orange County safe, but also the region, the state, and the nation through collaborative efforts. Working with diverse communities, these threats are very similar. We're dealing with terrorism threats, both foreign and domestic, and really the threat now is more domestic than it is foreign. Drug trafficking and human trafficking. The thing that really bothers me, and probably the greatest thing we're dealing with right now, is cyber threats, both foreign and also domestic. The risk that are created with our border security or lack thereof, and then foreign maligned bad actors, mostly from China and Russia, who are using cyber tactics to try to infiltrate and impact commerce within the United States, and specifically Orange County, because we have a economic hub in Orange County with Fortune 500 companies and commerce and industry. So and tourism, we've become a high target for cyber disruption and stealing of intellectual property. Communication law enforcement is very important regarding these threats, and I'm proud of the work that we've already accomplished in just 6 months, and looking forward to really making that more robust in 2022. They may seem like abstract problems to most people, and it's one of these things that are oftentimes unseen. But let me reassure you that we have the best efforts and the best strategies put in place, and these are very real threats that impact Orange County residents every day. One of those I spoke about was the cyber risks, and in 2021, loss to cyber criminals in 2021, just in California, exceeded $621 million. And to show how at risk Orange County is of the $621 million, almost $100 million of those losses were realized in Orange County. That's why it's important to make sure that you take all the necessary steps to protect you and not fall prey to some of these attempts by cyber criminals. In 2016, the Sheriff's Department established a cyber crimes unit. And outside the FBI, we are the only investigative presence in Orange County specific to cyber crimes. And I think that's very important. We have intervened and interdicted and actually stopped the transactions of millions of dollars being stolen from people through cyber criminal activity, and I'm very proud of their efforts. In addition to that, we have a cyber liaison officer program that we've started with the Orange County Intelligence Assessment Center, our intelligence fusion center specific to Orange County specifically. And to date, we have trained over 1,000 deputy sheriffs and frontline peace officers on how to identify and appropriately intercede to stop some of these cyber attacks or financial transactions from occurring that has helped people recover millions of dollars. This next several months, we're going to start a campaign, which I think is very important, on senior scams, those who are preying upon those who are elderly within our community with a numerous variety of scams that they are trying to bilk them out of their hard-earned savings and oftentimes retirement funds. And I'd ask for you, if you have elderly parents or grandparents, please share this information when it comes through our social media outlets to help keep them safe. The one thing that I spoke on for many years since becoming sheriff and even before is the risk of fentanyl and the increased presence of fentanyl over time. If not for COVID, it would be the dominant public health crisis that we'd be dealing with as a nation, and still remains so. This past year, for the first time, nationwide drug-related deaths exceeded 100,000 people during a 12-month period, and that's continuing to increase. A significant factor to these deaths is the illicit sale of fentanyl. Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than morphine. It's easier to produce, it's cheaper, it's easier to traffic, and the cartels are now producing clandestine produced or legally produced fake pharmaceuticals to replicate or look like Xanax, OxyContin, oxycodone, and other pharmaceuticals, but there's no pharmaceutical qualities in those narcotics. It only has fentanyl and being sold on the black market and openly and on the street to people thinking they're buying pharmaceutical drugs, and in fact they're only purchasing fentanyl. In Orange County, our fentanyl-related deaths have increased over 1,000% from 37 deaths in 2016 to 432 in 2020, and this number is continuing to increase and will probably double in 2021. Currently, we have 512 fentanyl-related deaths just this past calendar year in 2021, but we have over 400 cases that are pending toxicology and have high probability they'll come back to be a fentanyl-related death. Working to stop the tragic loss of life that we are experiencing is very important to me. We have incorporated a naloxone program, which is a narcotic, an opiate antagonist. It reverses the effects of fentanyl, and we've had hundreds of lives saved through that program, through our communities. In 2021, we began issuing advisements or admonishments to those we arrest for drug trafficking. And it simply tells them that if they continue to deal narcotics and if they sell a narcotic that results in the death of an individual, they can't be charged with murder. And we have been doing that for now the past calendar year. I also am conducting investigations on overdose deaths utilizing our homicide investigators. When somebody now looks like it's a fentanyl-related death, or what used to be called an overdose, I call it fentanyl-related deaths because many times these people are dying, are consuming narcotics they don't know contain fentanyl, they think it has something else. And we now routinely respond to and create casework or an investigation looking into the potential of having homicide charges filed against people who are selling these illicit narcotics. We are dealing with both the Orange County District Attorney's Office and also the U.S. Attorney's Office to hold these drug dealers accountable. And one program that I'm most proud of that we just introduced is a drug education curriculum for 5th and 6th graders, age-appropriate curriculum called Above the Influence. And this program is based on national best practices. It's not a scared straight program. It's an educational program to help teach our kids to make better life choices and what the impacts of narcotics have upon their system, how it changes the way they think, and will impact the way they function. And it's already been well received, and we intend to roll that out on a much broader basis next year. In 2018, in fact, for many years, I have sponsored legislation that's been carried by Pat Bates in the Senate and in the Assembly by Assemblywoman Cotty Petrie Norris that would simply include fentanyl with the same enhancements that are already on the law for cocaine, methamphetamine, and heroin for trafficking those by weight. Fentanyl is not included, and in fact, it's had a perverse outcome where it's now incentivized the cartels to traffic pure fentanyl because the risk and the accountability for that is much less than trafficking methamphetamine, heroin, or cocaine. This law would simply add fentanyl to the same schedule for enhancements for trafficking by weight of those other drugs. Next Tuesday, I will be testifying in the Senate Public Safety Committee for Senator Pat Bates' bill. It's SB 75 to add fentanyl back to the schedule of enhanced drugs the same way as those other narcotics are. I'm asking you to please call or contact the senators who serve on the Senate Public Safety Committee. Ask them to vote yes on SB 75 to add fentanyl for trafficking by weight the same way these other narcotics are included. And you could find that information at OC Sheriff Barnes on the social media accounts there, at OC Sheriff Barnes. Our COVID numbers, just like the community, are also increasing in the jail. Most of these individuals, we have 103 people who are incarcerated in Orange County Jail who have COVID. This number is kind of stabilized, and we're watching it closely. I'm proud to report that none of these individuals are significantly ill, and none of them have been hospitalized. So all of our mitigation efforts have remained in place since March of 2000. We still test everybody coming in the jail. We quarantine them appropriately. If they test, we isolate them, and our protocols have worked before. They will work again, and we keep those in place. I want to talk about a couple crime trends real quick. First of all, we still maintain a common sense approach to preventing crime. If you commit crime in Orange County, we're going to arrest you. And if you are taken to jail, you're going to serve your sentence. The recent rise of these smash and grab robberies that have occurred around the country, we took an early look at it and implemented a strategy that we believe worked. In fact, we know it did work because we didn't have those occur in Orange County sheriff's jurisdiction at some of the malls and major shopping areas that we do have. And that was a combination of many things: having a rapid response model if they were to occur, proactive patrols, a high presence of deputy sheriffs in these areas, making arrests as appropriate, and staying engaged, especially in partnering with our business community and the community at large to make sure they know how to be safe during the holiday season. And those efforts have paid off and have significantly reduced crime and kept it at the lows that Orange County residents have come to expect. I encourage all of you to contact your legislators and talk about common sense approaches to crime. Prop 47, the decriminalization, drug laws and theft laws have really had an impact, and I think that we need to restore the balance to our criminal justice system. Just recently, you may be aware that we implemented a body-worn camera program within the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Just to be clear, we always have had an in-car camera system since the late 80s, so we always had video recordings of our deputies. Just this past October, we transitioned to go to a body-worn camera program. We have 1,800 sworn staff within the Sheriff's Department. In the first 100 days, we've already deployed over 400 body-worn cameras across the department. The first city to launch was Yorba Linda in October, and we're currently deployed in our Southwest Operations Division, which encompasses the cities of Lake Forest, Mission Viejo, Rancho Santa Margarita, unincorporated areas to the east, such as Coto de Caza, Rancho Mission Viejo, and Ladera Ranch. Yorba Linda Police Services, I mentioned, San Clemente, Transit Police Services, and OCTA, where we provide police services, and also at John Wayne Airport, we provide law enforcement services as well. Within the next several months, we will be fully deployed in the other areas of the Sheriff's Department, including next week, Southwest Operations, including Aliso Viejo, Dana Point, Laguna Hills, Laguna Niguel, Laguna Woods, and San Juan Capistrano. North Operations, Villa Park, and Stanton, and unincorporated areas will take place right after that. And to follow behind that, the Harbor Patrol, Security Bureau, and also our investigation divisions that perform proactive work with the public will also be wearing body-worn cameras as well. In addition to upgrading to the body-worn camera program, we took the opportunity not only to retain our in-car system, but to implement a more advanced, better quality in-car system as well. And once all the body-worn cameras are implemented, we'll go to the upgrades with our in-car system, which will complement the body-worn cameras worn by our deputy sheriffs. Real quick, I want to cover some of the outcomes of our emergency management division last year. We've had the longest activation of our Emergency Management Bureau as a result of the COVID. They've been activated for 16 months straight. Over the last month, we had activations in partnering with the county and fire authority on addressing the mudslides in our canyon areas as a result of the bonfire in December 2020. They are experts and navigated multiple crises over the last several years. I really want to thank the members of our Emergency Management Bureau, the hundreds of sworn and civilian personnel within my department that activated and responded to help manage these crises over the last several years, which includes 3 fires from a year ago, not to mention the pandemic, the over 70 activations for civil unrest that we responded to as well. And we couldn't do that without the help of them and the support from our community. If you want to stay alert, informed on things happening now that impact you, please go to Alert OC. That's alertoc.org. alertoc.org. You can sign up there. They're not going to send you spam or any contacts, but they'll send you real-time information about incidents happening now and how to give you the best information to help keep you and your family safe. Looking ahead into 2022, I'm confident that we will remain on the front crest of the wave in servicing our communities as a professional law enforcement organization. I'm very proud of the men and women of the Orange County Sheriff's Department, but I'm most proud of the hundreds of calls and contacts I've received from the community thanking us for the job we do every day. I believe this community is an incredible community, not only to serve, but to work with. Quoting Sir Robert Peel, "The police are the community and the community are the police." In order to be able to do our jobs, we cannot accomplish that without your continued support, and I thank you for that. I wish you all a very healthy and successful 2022 and looking forward to working for you as your sheriff throughout this next year and beyond.